Yeah. I think, therefore, that your lordship should immediately go there to help the king in the great venture. In this great venture, however, although to accept the invitation offered by the sage Narada as primary is quite appropriate, at the same time, my lord, it is your duty to give protection to the surrendered souls. Both purposes can be served if we understand the whole situation. Unless we are victorious over all the kings, no one can perform this Rajasuya sacrifice. In other words, it is to be understood that King Yudhisthira cannot perform this great sacrifice without gaining victory over the belligerent king Jarasandha. The Rajasuya sacrifice can be performed only by one who has gained victory over all directions. Therefore, to execute both purposes, we first have to kill Jarasandha. I think that if we can somehow or other gain victory over Jarasandha, all our purposes will automatically be served. The imprisoned kings will be released, and with great pleasure we shall enjoy the spread of your transcendental fame for having saved the innocent kings whom Jarasandha has imprisoned.
But King Jarasandha is not an ordinary man. He has proved a stumbling block even to great warriors because his bodily strength is equal to the strength of 10,000 elephants. If there is anyone who can conquer this king, he is none other than Bhimasen, because he also possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants. The best thing would be for Bhimsen to fight alone with him. Then there will be no unnecessary killing of many soldiers. In fact, Jarasandha will be very difficult to conquer when he stands with his Akshwini divisions of soldiers. We may therefore adopt a policy more favorable to the situation. We know that King Jarasandha is very much devoted to the Brahmanas and very charitably disposed toward them. He never refuses any request from a Brahmana. I think therefore that Bhimsen should approach Jarasandha in the dress of a Brahmana, beg charity from him, and then personally engage in fighting him, and in order to assure Bhimsen's victory. I think that your lordship should accompany him. If the fighting takes place in your presence, I am sure Bhimsen will emerge victorious. For your presence makes everything impossible possible. Indeed, Lord Brahma created this universe, and Lord Shiva destroys it simply through your influence.
Actually, you create and destroy the entire cosmic manifestation. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are only the superficially visible causes. Creation and destruction are actually performed by the invisible time factor, which is your impersonal representation. Everything is under the control of this time factor. If your invisible time factor can perform such wonderful acts through Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, will not your personal presence help Bhimasen conquer Jarasandha? My dear Lord, when Jarasandha is killed, the queens of all the imprisoned kings will be so joyful at their husbands being released by your mercy that they will all sing your glories, being as pleased as the gopis were when released from the hands of Shankachuda. All the great sages, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, the goddess of fortune, Sita, and even your father and mother were all delivered by your causeless mercy. We also have been thus delivered, and we always sing the transcendental glories of your activities.
Therefore, I think that if the killing of Jarasandh is undertaken first, that will automatically solve many other problems. As for the Rajasuya sacrifice arranged in Hastinapur, it will be held either because of the pious activities of the imprisoned kings or the impious activities of Jarasandh. My lord, it appears that you are to go personally to Hastinapur to conquer demoniac kings like Jarasandh and Shishupal, to release the pious imprisoned kings, and also to perform the great Rajasuya sacrifice. Considering all these points, I think that your lordship should immediately proceed to Hastinapur. This advice of Uddava's was appreciated by all who were present in the assembly. Everyone considered that Lord Krishna's going to Hastinapur would be beneficial from all points of view. The great sage Narada, the elder personalities of the Yadu dynasty, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, all supported the statement of Uddava. Lord Krishna then took permission from his father Vasudeva and grandfather Ugrasen, and he immediately ordered his servants Daruka and Jaitra to arrange for travel to Hastinapur. When everything was prepared, Lord Krishna especially bid farewell to Lord Balram and the king of the Yadus, Ugrasena, and after dispatching his queens along with their children and sending their necessary luggage ahead, he mounted his chariot, which bore the flag marked with the symbol of Garuda.
Before starting the procession, Lord Krishna satisfied the great sage Narada by offering him different kinds of articles of worship. Narada ji wanted to fall at the lotus feet of Krishna, but because the Lord was playing the part of a human being, he simply offered the respect within his mind, and fixing the transcendental form of the Lord within his heart, he left the assembly house by the airways. Usually the sage Narada does not walk on the surface of the globe, but travels in outer space. After the departure of Narada, Lord Krishna addressed the messenger who had come from the imprisoned kings and told them that they should not be worried, for he would very soon arrange to kill the king of Magadha, Jarasandha. Thus he wished good fortune to all the imprisoned kings and the messenger. After receiving this assurance from Lord Krishna, the messenger returned to the imprisoned kings and informed them of the happy news of the Lord's forthcoming visit. All the kings were joyful at the news and began to wait very anxiously for the Lord's arrival.
The chariot of Lord Krishna started for Hastinapura, accompanied by many other chariots, along with elephants, cavalry, infantry, and similar royal paraphernalia, bugles, drums, trumpets, conch shells, and horns all produced a loud, auspicious sound, which vibrated in all directions. The 16,000 queens, headed by the goddess of fortune, Rukmini Devi, the ideal wife of Lord Krishna, and accompanied by their respective sons, all followed behind Lord Krishna. They were dressed in costly garments, decorated with ornaments, and their bodies were smeared with sandalwood pulp and garlanded with fragrant flowers. Riding on palanquins nicely decorated with silks, flags, and golden lace, they followed their exalted husband Lord Krishna. The infantry soldiers carried shields, swords, and lances in their hands and acted as royal bodyguards to the queens. In the rear of the procession were the wives and children of all the other followers, and there were many society girls also following. Many beasts of burden like bulls, buffalo, mules, and asses carried the camps, bedding, and coverts, and the women who followed were seated in separate palanquins on the backs of camels. This para- panoramic procession was accompanied by the shouts of the people and was full with the display of different colored flags, umbrellas, and whisks, and different varieties of weapons, dress, ornaments, helmets, and ornaments. Shining in the sunlight, the procession appeared just like an ocean with high waves and shocks.
In this way, the procession of Lord Krishna's party advanced toward Hastinapur, New Delhi, and gradually passed through the kingdoms of Anartha, Gujarat province, Sauvir, Surat, the great desert of Rajasthan, and then Kurukshetra. Between those kingdoms were very mountains, rivers, towns, villages, pasturing grounds, and mining fields. The procession passed through all these places in its advance. On his way to Hastinapur, the Lord crossed two big rivers, the Drishtavati and the Saraswati. Then he crossed the province of Panchals and Matsya. In this way, he ultimately arrived at Hastinapur or Indraprastha.
The audience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is not at all commonplace. Therefore, when King Yudhishthir heard that Lord Krishna had arrived in his capital city, Hastinapur, he became so joyful that all his bodily hairs stood on end in great ecstasy, and he immediately came out of the city to properly receive the Lord. He ordered the musical vibration of different instruments and songs, and the learned Brahmanas of the city began to chant the hymns of the Vedas very loudly. Lord Krishna is known as Rishikesha, the master of the senses, and King Yudhishthir went forward to receive him exactly as the senses meet the consciousness of life. King Yudhishthir was the elder cousin of Krishna. Naturally, he had great affection for the Lord, and as soon as he saw him, his heart became filled with great love and affection. He had not seen the Lord for many days, and therefore he thought himself most fortunate to see the Lord present before him. The king therefore embraced Lord Krishna again and again in great affection.
The eternal form of Lord Krishna is the everlasting residence of the goddess of fortune. As soon as King Yudhishthir embraced him, he became free from all the contamination of material existence. He immediately felt transcendental bliss and merged in an ocean of happiness. There were tears in his eyes, and his body shook in ecstasy. He completely forgot that he was living in this material world. After this, Bhimasen, the second brother of the Pandavas, smiled and embraced Lord Krishna, thinking of him as his own maternal cousin, and thus he also merged in great ecstasy. Bhimasen was so filled with ecstasy that for the time being he forgot his material existence. Then Lord Sri Krishna himself embraced the other three Pandavas, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev. The eyes of all three brothers were inundated with tears, and Arjuna embraced Krishna again and again because they were intimate friends. The two younger Pandava brothers, after being embraced by Lord Krishna, fell down at his lotus feet to offer their respects. Lord Krishna thereafter offered his obeisances to the Brahmanas present as well as to the elder members of the Kuru dynasty like Bhishma, Drona, and Dhritarashtra. There were many kings of different provinces such as Kuru, Srinjaya, and Kekaya, and Lord Krishna duly reciprocated greetings and respects with them. The professional reciters like the Sutas, Magadhas, and Vandis, accompanied by the Brahmanas, offered their respectful prayers to the Lord. Performing artists like the Gandharvas as well as the royal jokers began to play their Panava drums, conch shells, kettle drums, veenas, mridangas, and bugles, and they exhibited their dancing art to please the Lord. Thus, the all famous Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, entered the great city of Hastinapur, which was opulent in every respect. While Lord Krishna was entering the city, all the people talked among themselves about the glories of the Lord, praising his transcendental name, qualities, form, and so on.
The roads, streets, and lanes of Hastinapura were all sprinkled with fragrant water through the trunks of intoxicated elephants. In different places of the city, there were colorful festoons and flags decorating the houses and streets. At important crossroads, there were gates with golden decorations, and at the two sides of the gates, there were golden water jugs. These beautiful decorations glorified the opulence of the city. Participating in this great ceremony, all the citizens gathered here and there, dressed in colorful new clothing and decorated with ornaments, flower garlands, and fragrant scents. The houses were all illuminated by hundreds and thousands of lamps placed in different corners of the cornices, walls, columns, bases, and architraves. And from far away, the rays of the lamps appeared to be celebrating the festival of Diwali, a particular festival observed on the New Year's Day of the Hindu calendar. Within the walls of the houses, fragrant incense was burning, and smoke rose through the windows, making the entire atmosphere very pleasing. On the top of every house, flags were flapping, and the golden water pots kept on the roofs shone brilliantly.
Lord Krishna thus entered the city of the Pandavas, enjoyed the beautiful atmosphere, and slowly proceeded ahead. When the young girls in every house heard that Lord Krishna, the only object worth seeing, was passing on the street, they were very eager to see this all-famous personality. Their hair loosened and their tightened saris became slack due to their hastily rushing to see him. They gave up their household engagements, and those who were lying in bed with their husbands immediately left them and came directly down onto the street to see Lord Krishna. The procession of elephants, horses, chariots, and infantry was very crowded. Some of the girls, being unable to see properly in the crowd, got up on the roofs of the houses, pleased to see Lord Sri Krishna passing with his thousands of queens. They showered flowers on the procession, embraced Lord Krishna within their minds, and gave him a hearty reception. When they saw him in the midst of his many queens, like the full moon situated amidst many luminaries, they began to talk amongst themselves. One girl said to another, "My dear friend, it is very difficult to guess what kind of pious activities these queens have performed, for they are always enjoying the smiling face and loving glances of Krishna." While Lord Krishna was thus passing on the road, at intervals some of the citizens, who were all rich, respectable, and freed from sinful activities, presented auspicious articles to the Lord, just to offer him a reception to the city. Thus, they worshipped him as humble servitors.
While Lord Krishna entered the palace, all the ladies there were overwhelmed with affection just upon seeing him. They immediately received Lord Krishna with glittering eyes expressing their love and affection for him. And Lord Krishna smiled and accepted their feelings and gestures of reception. When Kunti, the mother of Pandavas, saw her nephew Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she was overpowered by love and affection. She at once got up from her bedstead and appeared before him with her daughter-in-law Draupadi. And in maternal love and affection, she embraced him, and Maharaj Yudhishthir brought Krishna within the palace. The king became so confused in his jubilation that he practically forgot what he was to do at that time to receive Krishna and worship him properly. Lord Krishna delightfully offered his respect and obeisance to Kunti and other elder ladies of the palace. His younger sister Subhadra was also standing there with Draupadi, and both offered their respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of the Lord. At the indication of her mother-in-law, Draupadi brought clothing, ornaments, and garlands, and with his paraphernalia they received the queens Rukmani, Satyabhama, Bhadra, Jambavati, Kalindi, Mitravinda, Lakshmana, and the devoted Satya. These principal queens of Lord Krishna were first received, and then the other queens were also offered a proper reception. King Yudhishthir urged for Krishna's rest and saw to it that all who came along with him, namely his queens, soldiers, ministers, and secretaries, were comfortably situated. He had arranged that they would experience a new feature of reception every day while staying as guests of the Pandavas.
It was during this time that Lord Sri Krishna, with the help of Arjun, allowed the fire god Agni to devour the Khandav forest for his satisfaction. During the forest fire, Krishna saved the demon Mayasur, who was hiding in the forest. Upon being saved, Mayasura felt obliged to the Pandavas and Lord Krishna, and he constructed a wonderful assembly house within the city of Hastinapur. To please King Yudhishthir, Lord Krishna remained in the city of Hastinapur for several months. During his stay, he enjoyed strolling here and there. He used to drive on chariots with Arjun, and many warriors and soldiers used to follow them. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedant purport of the 71st chapter of Krishna, Lord Krishna in Indraprastha city.
Chapter 72, the liberation of King Jarasandh. In the great assembly of respectable citizens, friends, relatives, brahmanas, sages, kshatriyas, and vaishyas, in the presence of all, including his brothers, King Yudhishthir, directly addressed Lord Krishna as follows: My dear Lord Krishna, the sacrifice known as the Rajasuya Yagya is to be performed by the emperor, and it is considered the king of all sacrifices. By performing this sacrifice, I wish to satisfy all the demigods, who are your empowered representatives within this material world, and I wish that you will kindly help me in this great venture so that it may be successfully executed. As far as the Pandavas are concerned, we have nothing to ask from the demigods. We are personally fully satisfied to be your devotees. As you say in the Bhagavad Gita, persons bewildered by material desires worship the demigods. But my purpose is different. I want to perform this Rajasuya sacrifice and invite the demigods to show that they have no power independent of you, that they are all your servants and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons with a poor fund of knowledge consider your lordship an ordinary human being. Sometimes they try to find fault in you, and sometimes they defame you. Therefore, I wish to perform this Rajasuya Yagya. I wish to invite all the demigods, beginning from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other exalted chiefs of the heavenly planets, and in that great assembly of demigods from all parts of the universe, I want to substantiate that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that everyone is your servant.
My dear Lord, those who are constantly in Krishna consciousness and who think of your lotus feet or your shoes are certainly freed from all contaminations of material life. Such persons who engage in your service in full Krishna consciousness, who meditate upon you only and offer prayers unto you, are purified souls. Being constantly engaged in Krishna conscious service, they are freed from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Or even if they do not want to be freed from this material existence, but desire to enjoy material opulences, their desires are also fulfilled by their Krishna conscious activities. In fact, those who are pure devotees of your lotus feet have no desire for material opulences. As far as we are concerned, we are fully surrendered unto your lotus feet, and by your grace we are so fortunate as to see you personally. Therefore, naturally, we have no desire for material opulence. The verdict of the Vedic wisdom is that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I want to establish this fact, and I also want to show the world the difference between accepting you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and accepting you as an ordinary, powerful, historical person. I wish to show the world that one can attain the highest perfection of life simply by taking shelter at your lotus feet, exactly as one can satisfy the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers of an entire tree simply by watering the root. If one takes to Krishna consciousness, his life becomes fulfilled both materially and spiritually.
This does not mean that you are partial to the Krishna conscious person and indifferent to the non-Krishna conscious person. You are equal to everyone. That is your declaration. You cannot be partial to one and not interested in others. For you, sit in everyone's heart as the super soul and give everyone the respective results of his fruitive activities. You give every living entity the chance to enjoy this material world as he decides. As the super soul, you sit in the body with the living entity, giving him the results of his own actions as well as opportunities to turn toward your devotional service by developing Krishna consciousness. You openly declare that one should surrender unto you, giving up all other engagements, and that you will take charge of him, giving him relief from the reactions of all sins. Still, the living entity remains attached to the material activities and suffers or enjoys the reactions without your interference. You are like the desire tree in the heavenly planets, which awards benedictions according to one's desires. Everyone is free to achieve the highest perfection, but if one does not so desire, then your awarding of lesser benedictions is not due to partiality.
On hearing this statement by King Yudhishthir, Lord Krishna replied as follows: My dear King Yudhishthir, O killer of enemies, O ideal justice personified, I completely support your decision to perform the Rasasuya sacrifice. After you perform this great sacrifice, your good name will remain well established forever in the history of human civilization. My dear king, I may inform you that all the great sages, your forefathers, the demigods, and your relatives and friends, including me, desire that you perform this sacrifice, and I think that it will satisfy every living entity. But I request that you first conquer all the kings of the world and collect all the requisite paraphernalia for executing this great sacrifice. My dear king, Yudhishthir, your four brothers are direct representative of important demigods like Vayu and Indra. It is said that Bhima was born of demigod Vayu and that Arjuna was born of the demigod Indra. Whereas King Yudhishthir himself was born of the demigod Yamaraj. As such, your brothers are great heroes, and you are the most pious and self-controlled king, and are therefore known as Dharmaraj. All of you are so qualified in devotional service to me that I have automatically been conquered by you.
Lord Krishna told King Yudhishthir that he is conquered by the love of one who has conquered his senses. One who has not conquered his senses cannot conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the secret of devotional service. To conquer the senses means to engage them constantly in the service of the Lord. The specific qualification of all the Pandava brothers was that they always engaged their senses in the Lord's service. One who thus engages his senses becomes purified. And with purified senses, the devotee can actually render transcendental loving service to the Lord and conquer him. Lord Krishna continued, there is no one in the three worlds of the universe, including the powerful demigods, who can surpass my devotees in any of the six opulences, namely wealth, strength, reputation, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Therefore, if you want to conquer the worldly kings, there is no possibility of their emerging victorious.
When Lord Krishna thus encouraged King Yudhishthira, the king's face brightened like a like a blossoming flower because of transcendental happiness, and thus he ordered his younger brothers to conquer all the worldly kings in all directions. Lord Krishna empowered the Pandavas to execute his great mission of chastising the infidel miscreants of the world and giving protection to his faithful devotees. In his Vishnu form, the Lord carries four weapons in his four hands, a lotus flower and a conch shell in two hands, and in the other two hands a club and a disc. The club and disc are meant for the infidel miscreants and demons, and the lotus flower and conch shell are for the devotees. But because the Lord is the Supreme Absolute, the result of all his weapons is one and the same. With the club and the disc, he chastises the miscreants so that they may come to their senses and know that they are not all in all, for above them there is the Supreme Lord. And by boggling with the conch shells and offering blessings with the lotus flower, he always assures the devotees that no one can vanquish them, even in the greatest calamity. King Yudhishthira, being thus assured by the indication of Lord Krishna, ordered his younger brother Sahadev, accompanied by soldiers of the Srinjaya tribe, to conquer the southern countries. Similarly, he ordered Nakul, accompanied by the soldiers of Matsya Desh, to conquer the kings of the western side. He sent Arjuna, accompanied by the soldiers of Kekaya Desh, to conquer the kings of the northern side. and he ordered Bhimasen, accompanied by the soldiers of Madras, to conquer the kings of the eastern side.
It may be noted that by dispatching his younger brothers to conquer in different directions, King Yudhishthir did not actually intend that they declare war upon the kings. Actually, the brothers started for different directions to inform the respective kings about King Yudhishthir's intentions to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. The kings were thus informed that they were required to pay taxes for the execution of the sacrifice. This payment of taxes to Emperor Yudhishthir meant that the king accepted subjugation before him. In case of a king's refusal to act accordingly, there was certainly a fight. Thus, by their influence and strength, the brothers conquered all the kings in different directions, and they were able to bring in abundant taxes and presentations, which they brought before King Yudhishthir.
Want to keep going?
Okay.
Since you have been here for 10 years.
King Yudhishthir was very anxious. However, when he heard that King Jarasandha of Magad did not accept his sovereignty, seeing King Yudhishthir's anxiety, Lord Krishna informed him of the plan explained by Uddhava for conquering King Jarasandha. Bhimsen, Arjuna, and Lord Krishna then started together for Girivraja, the capital city of Jarasandha, dressing themselves in the garb of Brahmanas. This was the plan devised by Uddhava before Lord Krishna started for Hastinapur, and now it was given practical application.
King Jarasandha was a very dutiful householder, and he had great respect for the Brahmanas. He was a great fighter, a Kshatriya king, but he was never neglectful of the Vedic injunctions. According to the Vedic injunctions, the Brahmanas are considered to be the spiritual masters of all other castes. Lord Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhimasen were actually Kshatriyas, but they dressed themselves as Brahmanas. And at the time when Lord Jarasandha was to give charity to the Brahmanas and receive them as guests, they approached him.
Lord Krishna, in the dress of a Brahmana, said to the king, "We wish all glories to your majesty. We, 3 guests at your royal palace, have come from a great distance to ask you for charity, and we hope that you will kindly bestow upon us whatever we ask from you. We know about your good qualities. A person who is tolerant is always prepared to tolerate everything, even though distressful, just as criminal can perform the most abominable acts. A greatly charitable person like you can give anything and everything for which he is asked. For a great personality like you, there is no distinction between relatives and outsiders. A famous man lives forever, even after his death. Therefore, any person who is completely fit and able to execute acts which will perpetuate his good name and fame, and yet does not do so, becomes abominable in the eyes of great persons. Such a person cannot be condemned enough, and his refusal to give charity is lamentable throughout his whole life. Your Majesty must have heard the glorious names of charitable personalities such as Harichandra, Randideva, and Mudgala, who used to live only on grains picked up from the paddy field, and the great Maharaja Sibi, who saved the life of a pigeon by supplying flesh from his own body. These great personalities have attained immortal fame simply by sacrificing their perishable body. Lord Krishna, in the garb of a Brahmana, thus convinced Jarasandha that fame is imperishable, but the body is perishable. If one can attain imperishable name and fame by sacrificing his perishable body, he becomes a very respectable figure in the history of human civilization.
While Lord Krishna was speaking in the garb of Brahmanas, along with Arjuna and Bhima, Jarasandha marked that the three of them did not appear to be actual Brahmanas. There were signs of their bodies by which Jarasandha could understand that they were Kshatriyas. Their shoulders were marked with impressions due to the carrying vows, and they had beautiful bodily structure, and their voices were grave and commanding. Thus, he definitely concluded that they were not Brahmana but Kshatriyas. He also thought that he had seen them somewhere before, but although these three persons were Kshatriyas, they had come to his door begging alms like Brahmanas. Therefore, he decided that he would fulfill their desires in spite of their being Kshatriyas, because they had already diminished their positions by appearing before him as beggars. Under the circumstances, he thought, I am prepared to give them anything, even if they ask my body for my body. I shall not hesitate to offer it to them. In this regard, he began to think of Bali Maharaj. Lord Vishnu, in the dress of Brahmana, appeared as a beggar before Bali and snatched away all his opulence and his kingdom. He did this for the benefit of Indra, who, having been defeated by Bali Maharaj, was bereft of his kingdom, although Bali Maharaj was cheated his reputation as great devotee, able to give anything and everything in the charity, is still glorified throughout the three worlds. Bali Maharaj could guess that the Brahmanas was Lord Vishnu himself, and he had come to him just to take away his opulent kingdom on behalf of Indra. Bali's spiritual master and family's priest, Sukracharya, repeatedly warned him about this. Yet Bali did not hesitate to give in charity whatever the Brahmanas wanted, and at last he gave up everything to the Brahmana. It is my strong determination throughout Jarasandha that if I can achieve immortal reputation by sacrificing this perishable body, I must act for that purpose. The life of Kshatriya who does not live for benefit to the Brahmanas is certainly condemned. Actually,
Read that sentence again.
the life of Kshatriya who does not live for the benefit to the live their benefit of the Brahmanas is certainly condemned. Actually, King Jarasandha was very liberal in giving charity to Brahmanas, and thus he informed Lord Krishna, Brahma, and Arjuna, my dear Brahmanas, you may ask for me whatever you like, if you so desire. You may take my head also. I am prepared to give it.
After this, Lord Krishna addressed Jarasandha as follows: My dear king, please note that we are not actually Brahmanas, nor have we come to ask for food or grain. We are all Kshatriyas, and we have come to beg a duel with you. We hope that you will agree to this proposal. You may note that here is the second son of King Pandu, Bhimasen, and the third son of Pandu, Arjun. As for myself, you may know that I am your old enemy Krishna, the cousin of the Pandavas. When Lord Krishna disclosed their disguise, King Jarasandha laughed very loudly, and then in great anger and in a grave voice he exclaimed, "You fools! If you want to fight with me, I immediately grant your request. But Krishna, I know that you are a coward. I refuse to fight with you because you become very confused when you face me in fighting. Out of fear of me, you left your own city, Mathura, and now you have taken shelter within the sea. Therefore, I must refuse to fight with you. As far as Arjun is concerned, I know that he is younger than me and is not an equal fighter. I refuse to fight with him because he is not in any way an equal competitor. But as far as Bhimasen is concerned, I think he is a suitable competitor to fight with me." After speaking in this way, King Jarasan immediately handed a very heavy club to Bhimasen. He himself took another, and all of them went outside the city walls to fight.
Bhimasen and King Jarasan engaged themselves in fighting, and with their respective clubs, which were as strong as thunderbolts, they began to strike each other very severely, both of them being eager to fight. They were both expert fighters with clubs, and their techniques of striking each other were so beautiful that they appeared to be two dramatic artists dancing on a stage. When the clubs of Jarasan and Bhimasen loudly collided, the impact sounded like that of the big tusks of two fighting elephants, or like a thunderbolt in a flashing electrical storm. When two elephants fight together in a sugarcane field, each of them snatches a stick of sugarcane, holds it tightly in its tusk, and strikes the other. At that time, the sugarcane becomes smashed by such heavy striking. Similarly, when Bhimasen and Jarasan were heavily striking each other with their clubs on different parts of their bodies, namely the shoulders, arms, collarbone, chest, thighs, waist, and legs, their clubs were torn to pieces. In this way, all of the clubs used by Jarasan and Bhimasen became ruined, and so the two enemies prepared to fight with their strong fisted hands. Jarasan and Bhimasen were very angry, and they began to smash each other with their fists. The striking of their fists sounded like the striking of iron bars or like the sound of thunderbolts, and the two warriors appeared to be like two elephants fighting. Neither was able to defeat the other. However, for both were expert in fighting, they were of equal strength, and their fighting techniques were also equal. Neither Jarasan nor Bhimasen became fatigued or defeated in the fighting, although they struck each other continuously. At the end of each day's fighting, they lived at night as friends in Jarasan's palace, and the next day they fought again. In this way, they passed 27 days in fighting.
On the 28th day, Bhimsen told Krishna, "My dear Krishna, I must frankly admit that I cannot conquer Jarasandha." Lord Krishna, however, knew the mystery of Jarasandha's birth. Jarasandha had been born in two different parts from two different mothers. When his father saw that the baby was useless, he threw the two parts into the forest. There they were later found by a witch named Jara, who was skilled in black arts. She managed to join the two parts of the baby from top to bottom. Knowing this, Lord Krishna therefore also knew how to kill him. He hinted to Bhimsen that since Jarasandha had been brought to life by joining of the two parts of the body, he could be killed by the separation of these two parts. Thus Lord Krishna transferred his power into the body of Bhimsen and informed him of the device by which Jarasandha could be killed. Lord Krishna plucked a twig from a tree and bifurcated it. In this way, he hinted to Bhimsen how Jarasandha could be killed. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is omnipotent, and if he wants to kill someone, no one can save that person. Similarly, if he wants to save someone, no one can kill him.
Informed by the hints of Lord Krishna, Bhimasena immediately took hold of Jarasandha's legs and threw him to the ground. When Jarasandha fell, Bhimasena immediately pressed one of Jarasandha's legs to the ground and took hold of the other leg with his two hands. Catching Jarasandha in this way, he tore his body in two from the anus up to the head. As an elephant breaks the branches of a tree in two, Bhimasena separated the body of Jarasandha. The audience standing nearby saw that Jarasandha's body was now divided into two halves, so that each half had one leg, one thigh, one testicle, half a backbone, half a chest, one collarbone, one arm, one eye, one ear, and half a face.
As soon as the news of Jarasandha's death was announced, all the citizens of Magadha began to cry, "Alas, alas!" while Lord Krishna and Arjuna embraced Bhimasena to congratulate him. Although Jarasandha was killed, neither Krishna nor the two Pandava brothers made a claim to the throne. Their purpose in killing Jarasandha was to stop him from creating a disturbance to the proper discharge of world peace. A demon always creates disturbances, whereas a demigod always tries to keep peace in the world. The mission of Lord Krishna is to protect the righteous and kill the demons who disturb a peaceful situation. Therefore, Lord Krishna immediately called for the son of Jarasandha, whose name was Sagadeva. And due to ritualistic ceremonies, the Lord asked him to occupy the seat of his father and reign over the kingdom peacefully. Lord Krishna is the master of the whole cosmic creation, and he wants everyone to live peacefully and execute Krishna consciousness. After installing Sagadeva on the throne, he released all the kings and princes who had been imprisoned unnecessarily by Jarasandha. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 72nd chapter of Krishna, the liberation of King Jarasandha.
Chapter 73. Lord Krishna returns to the city of Hastinapura. The kings and princes released by Lord Krishna after the death of Jarasandha were rulers of different parts of the world. Jarasandha was so powerful in military strength that he had conquered all these princes and kings, numbering 20,800. They were all incarcerated within a mountain cave specially constructed as fort, and for a long time they were kept in that situation. When they were released by the grace of Lord Krishna, they all looked very unhappy. Their garments were niggardly, and their faces were almost dried up for want of proper worldly care. They were very weak due to hunger, and their faces had lost all beauty and luster. The king's long imprisonment had caused every part of their bodies to become slack and invalid.
However, because in that miserable condition they had the opportunity to think about Lord Krishna, they immediately saw him now as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. They saw that the color of the transcendental body of Lord Krishna resembled the hue of a newly arrived cloud in the sky. He appeared before them nicely covered by yellow silken garments, with 4 hands like Vishnu, and carrying the different symbols of the club, the conch shell, the disc, and the lotus flower.
Little slower, so the subtitles can pick up your words. The subtitles and you go a little slower.
Okay. He appeared before them, nicely covered by yellow silken garments, with 4 hands like Vishnu, and carrying the different symbols of the club, the conch shell, the disc, and the lotus flower. His chest was marked with a golden line, and the nipples on his chest appeared like the holes of lotus flowers. His eyes appeared to spread like the petals of a lotus, and his smiling face exhibited the symbol of eternal peace and prosperity. He wore glittering shark shaped earrings, and his helmet was bedecked with valuable jewels. The Lord's necklace of pearls and the bangles and bracelets nicely situated on his body all shone with a transcendental beauty. The Kaustuba jewel hanging on his chest glittered with great luster, and the Lord wore a beautiful flower garland. After so much distress, when the kings and princes saw Lord Krishna with his beautiful transcendental features, they looked upon him to their heart's content, as if drinking nectar through their eyes, licking his body with their tongues, smelling the aroma of his body with their noses, and embracing him with their arms. Just by dint of their being in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all reactions to their sinful activities were washed away. Therefore, without reservation, they surrendered themselves at the lotus feet of the Lord. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that unless one is freed from all sinful reactions, one cannot fully surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. All the princes who saw Lord Krishna forgot all their past tribulations. With folded hands and with great devotion, they offered prayers to Lord Krishna as follows.
Dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, Master of all demigods, you can immediately remove all your devotees' pangs because your devotees are fully surrendered unto you. O dear Lord Krishna, O eternal deity of transcendental bliss and knowledge, you are imperishable, and we offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. It is by your causeless mercy that we have been released from the imprisonment of Jarasan, but now we pray that you release us from imprisonment within material existence, your illusory energy. Please stop our continuous cycle of birth and death. We now have sufficient experience of the miserable material life in which we are fully absorbed, and having tasted its bitterness, we have come to take shelter under your lotus feet. Therefore, please give us your protection. Dear Lord, O killer of the demon Madhu, we can now clearly see that Jarasan was not at fault in the least. It is actually by your causeless mercy that we were bereft of our kingdoms, for we were very proud of calling ourselves rulers and kings. A ruler or king who becomes too much puffed up with false prestige and power gets no opportunity to understand his real constitutional position and eternal life. Under the influence of your illusory energy, such a foolish so-called ruler or king becomes falsely proud of his position, just like a foolish person who considers a mirage in the desert a reservoir of water. Foolish persons think that their material possessions will give them protection. Engaged in sense gratification, they falsely accept this material world as a place of eternal enjoyment. O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we must admit that before this we were puffed up with our material opulences. It was as if we were intoxicated, because we were all envious and wanted to conquer one another. We all engage in fighting for supremacy, even at the cost of sacrificing the lives of many citizens.
This is the disease of political power. As soon as a king becomes rich in material opulences, he wants to dominate other nations by military aggression. Similarly, mercantile men want to monopolize a certain type of business and control other mercantile groups. Impelled by false prestige and infatuated by material opulences, human society, instead of striving for Krishna consciousness, creates havoc and disrupts peaceful living. Thus, men forget the real purpose of life to attain the favor of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The king continued, O Lord, we were simply engaged in the abominable task of killing citizens and alluring them to be unnecessarily killed just to satisfy our political whims. We did not consider that your lordship is always present before us in the form of cruel death. We were so foolish that we became the cause of death for others, forgetting our own impending death. But, dear Lord, the force of the time element, which is your representative, is certainly insurmountable. The time element is so strong that no one can escape its influence. Therefore, we have received the reactions of our atrocious activities, and we are now bereft of all opulences and stand before you like street beggars. We consider our position your causeless, unalloyed mercy upon us, because now we can understand that we were falsely proud and that our material opulences could be withdrawn from us within a second by your will. By your causeless mercy only, we are now able to think of your lotus feet. This is our greatest gain. Dear Lord, everyone knows that the body is a breeding ground of diseases. Now we are quite aged, and instead of being proud of our bodily strength, we are getting weaker day by day. We are no longer interested in sense gratification or the false happiness derived through the material body. By your grace, we have now come to the conclusion that hankering after such material happiness is just like searching for water in a desert mirage. We are no longer interested in the results of our pious activities, such as performing great sacrifices to be elevated to the heavenly planets. We now understand that such elevation to a higher material standard may sound very relishable, but actually there cannot be any happiness within this material world.
We pray for your Lordship to favor us by instructing us how to engage in the transcendental loving service at your lotus feet, so that we may never forget our eternal relationship with your Lordship. We do not want liberation from the entanglement of material existence. By your will, we may take birth in any species of life. It does not matter. We simply pray that we never forget your lotus feet under any circumstances. Dear Lord, we now surrender unto your lotus feet by offering our respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. You are the Supersoul in everyone's heart, and you are Lord Hari, who can take away all miserable conditions of material existence. Dear Lord, your name is Govinda, the reservoir of all pleasure, because one who is engaged in satisfying your senses satisfies his own senses automatically. Dear Lord, you are ever famous, for you could put an end to all the miseries of your devotees. Please, therefore, accept us as your surrendered servants. Haribol. So, my dear devotees, that concludes our 1 hour of reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. We'll continue with chapter Lord Krishna returns to the city of Hastinapur next week. So, as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namam Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paskachade Shatarane. And to each other, Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Pachita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Krishna Book, Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hari Bol.